Cheater! Maximize! Time for this cat to pounce!
If you're on the younger side of genre fandom, chances are your first association with Transformers looks a little something like this. For better or worse, Transformers and Bayhem, you know, Michael Bay's brand of movie mayhem, have become synonymous, and when we talk about explosions or explosions for explosion's sake, Transformers is always one of the first things that gets mentioned. But things always haven't been that way. For kids in the 80s, Transformers was a staple of both the TV screen and the living room floor, or the bathtub, if you're me. Don't judge. So how do we get from an awesomely 80s cartoon to the realistic leveling of cities and Mark Wahlberg?
This could be a game changer for me.
The truth is, there were a number of steps along the way in the Transformers story.
We gotta be talking about just one thing.
And one of the most essential steps was Beast Wars. Beast Wars! Debuting in 1996, Beast Wars was the first Transformers TV property to air in the US since the original cartoon, and had some big shoes to fill. I'm talking about 4 Maximus-sized shoes. Beast Wars was controversial among fans because it depicted robots transforming not into vehicles, but beasts. But as we'll explore, the show built new lore and ended up influencing future Transformers media that returned to the more vehicle-based storytelling. But what's perhaps an even bigger part of the Beast Wars story is the role it played in the history of animation. Looking at it today, the animation style of Beast Wars looks completely primitive. I mean, at times it looks like an old screensaver. You know the one. But the fact is, this was one of the first 3D computer animated shows ever made, and it represented a massive leap forward for a kid's storytelling tool that's now abundant and, honestly, completely taken for granted. And as we'll get into, the technological capabilities and limitations of Beast Wars had a huge effect on the storytelling itself. Here's everything you didn't know about Beast Wars. EYDK, maximize! Beast Wars was produced by Hasbro with production and distribution help from Alliance Communications and CGI work by Mainframe Entertainment and Classic Television. There's a lot of people working on one show. Both Alliance and Mainframe were Canadian companies, and the voice work was almost exclusively Canadian. So Beast Wars was a real Canadian operation. We salute you, Canada. The show ran on syndication in the US and YTV in Canada. It ran from September 16th, 1996 to March 7th, 1999. It had 3 seasons with a total of 52 episodes. I watched it primarily in the mornings as I got ready for school. How about you guys? No? Am I the only one? Can't be. The show features a struggle between 2 factions of transforming warriors. Maximals, the good guys, and Predacons, the peeps who always plot galactic domination.
We Predacons have never abandoned our rightful goal of galactic conquest.
The Maximals in the lore are descended from the Autobots, and the Predacons from the Decepticons. Similar to the G1 Transformers, they all bear the logo for their respective sides, you know, like right in their thing or on their shoulders. It's a fun game, just look wherever they are. The Maximals are led by Optimus Primal.
Optimus Primal, maximize!
Whose face and head looks very familiar because it's based on the G1 Transformers.
Megatron, terrorize!
And the Predacons are led by Megatron, who's not officially the same as Transformers Megatron, well, not at least in the beginning of the series. After everybody crash lands on a mysterious planet, the Predacons spend their time trying to harvest the planet's energon in their pursuit of cosmic domination while the Maximals try to stop them.
We came looking for energon, and this planet is rich with the element.
And this is key. The planet's energon-rich environment makes it so that Maximals and Predacons can't stay in their robot forms for too long.
Then we will create alternate forms based on the most powerful local creatures.
And must transform into their beast forms that imitate the creatures native to the planet. So that means they spend a lot of time just kicking the shit out of each other as both robots and animals, which is pretty sweet. 13-year-old me thought they did a great job choosing which sides were which types of animals. I don't know about you, but the Preds being bugs, lizards, and dinosaurs kinda made sense. Just like a gorilla, a cheetah, and a rhino seem like good guy animals. Like I said, I was 13. While some of the battles between the Predacons and Maximals are one-offs and sitcom-y in nature, there are still some interesting arcs, twists, and contributions to the Transformers lore. Alright, skip ahead a minute if you want to stay spoiler-free. Good? Okay. But we love the way the show introduced sparks to Transformers.
A spark.
Yup. The very thing which makes us what we are.
We also love the double whammy of the fake moon.
What could it be?
The light at the end of the world.
And the reveal of the mysterious planet's identity. It was Earth the whole time.
You saw the moon?
Yes, one moon now. Planet changed, and that means
Earth. Yes.
Then there's the references to the golden disc from real-world space exploration history. That's enough to make any NASA nerd giddy. I know y'all are out there. Now the disc plays a big part in the series because we learned in Season 2's The Agenda Part 2 that the golden disc Predacon Megatron stole contained the message from OG Megatron with instructions of how to carry on the Decepticon agenda.
I know that transwarp technology is being developed, and so I leave this message to any Decepticon descendants that may find.
This is followed by The Agenda Part 3, where Pred Megatron gains access into the Ark, the ship that carried the Autobots and Decepticons that would go on to fight in the Great War of 1984, aka G1 Transformers.
Autobots and Decepticons, still frozen in emergency stasis.
It's really cool to see Soundwave, Starscream, and of course Optimus Prime, who Megatron wants to destroy because that would lead to the Maximal ceasing to exist, making Beast Wars a prequel.
A day of reckoning with those who made us slaves.
The show is full of memorable characters, but my favorite is Optimus. I know that's cliche, but the way he flies and shoots missiles is pretty dope. That's just me. Oh, least favorite? Rat Trap. That is annoying.
You never had taste, did you, kid?
A huge special shout out to Dinobot. He anchors the second season episode Code of Hero, which is generally considered the best of the series. And he was the only character from Beast Wars inaugurated into the first class of the Transformers Hall of Fame, which is a real thing.
And the fans' choice winner is Dinobot.
I wonder if they got like jackets, like in the sports ones.
I'm, gorgeous.
The Transmetals gave the characters new looks and powers, which is always welcome.
Hey, I wonder what these gizmos are for.
And the Volk were a really cool supervillainous threat to both the Maximals and the Predacons. You know, they got third-partied.
There has been a serious disruption in the time flow.
Beast Wars is also full of things that'll make you smile. Whether it's Megatron's tiny little T-Rex arms, or the homage to the opening shot of Star Wars in the show's pilot, or even the fact that the show's called Beast Wars, even though there's never more than about 5 combatants on either side of the war. Wouldn't that be more of like a brawl or a scuffle? Well, I guess if there's a lot of gunplay and the fate of the universe is at stake, yeah. Though, I definitely watch a show called Beast Scuffles. That's just me.
Let it be called Beast Wars.
But we can't talk about Beast Wars without talking about its place in animation history. On a lot of levels, Beast Wars looks pretty ridiculous through today's eyes. But we have to remember that when Beast Wars came out, there was almost nothing on that level for TV just yet. Toy Story had come out the previous year before, but blew everything else out of the water until others, caught up in the years later.
Impressive, yes.
Prior to Beast Wars, shows used CGI mainly as icing on a cake. For example, Babylon 5 used CGI for some of its action and space images, but most of the show was still videotaped. Only 2 television shows prior to Beast Wars were fully computer animated, and one, Insectours, a French show, wasn't even full length. It was Reboot, a Canadian series that was the first full half-hour ongoing computer animated show, and Reboot had deep connections to Beast Wars. One of the creators of Reboot, Phil Mitchell, was an animation director on Beast Wars, and both shows were produced in Canada by the same companies, the aforementioned Alliance and Mainframe. And you can see that there's stylistic overlap between the shows right here.
Don't bother me with this now.
You might also notice there's a lot of death on Beast Wars for a kids show. Well, there are some reported practical and technological reasons for this. One reason was Hasbro reportedly killed off characters whose toys were not selling well. So that's your parents' fault for not buying them for you. That's the practical. The technical reason was that reportedly the show's budget only allowed for the animation of a certain number of characters and elements in each shot. This explains why the backgrounds often look so static, and dynamic elements just took away more time and labor back then, and that meant more ducats. Today, elements can be duplicated and automatically diversified very easily. So if the show wanted to introduce new characters, a necessity for the marketing of new toys, they had to make some of the existing characters disappear. And the easiest way to explain their disappearance was to kill them off. Spoils of Beast Wars, I guess. Sorry, I had to. We've talked a lot about the different types of cartoon theme songs over the years here on EYDK. You've got the songs that tell the story of the show. You've got songs that pair images and instrumentals with like no lyrics at all. And you've got the Mega Man theme that's just one line over
Fighting robot, Mega Man.
And over again.
Super fighting robot, Mega Man.
The fighting robot, Mega Man. Every time. Mega
Man.
And then there's the Beast Wars theme, which is mostly just instrumentals except for 2 spoken words. And I bet you can guess what those 2 are. Okay, maybe it was pretty obvious, but let's be real. The original Transformers series has one of the most iconic intro themes in cartoon history. I will fight anyone who defies that. So maybe the creators of Beast Wars didn't want to tempt fate, which I gotta give them respect.
Very well.
Robert Buckley did the music of the entire series, which included some gnarly guitar riffs. He also did the music for Reboot, the Beast Wars sequel Beast Machines, and Shadow Raiders, which was another early 3D computer animated series. So it's fair to call this guy the John Williams of 3D animation, right? You know what? I'm gonna say it. Yes, it's fair to call him the John Williams of 3D animation. Takara Tomy Toy Company created 2 lines called Diaclone and Microman.
ミクロマンタイタン完成マグネットの関節に秘められた不思議なパワー
Hasbro bought Diaclone Toys and partnered with Takara to create the first Transformers line. Hasbro then hired Jim Shooter, Dennis O'Neil, and Bob Budiansky to create the backstory and characters, so definitely gotta shout them out. Larry DiTilio and Bob Forward get credit on Beast Wars as story editors. They developed Beast Wars together, creating the new characters and worlds, so are more or less the creators, and even though they're not credited as such, that's what they are. Ford has been featured a number of times on this show as a story editor on X-Men Evolution, and a lead creative on the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, including the Zelda cartoon within that show. DiTilio was also a writer on He-Man, the co-creator of She-Ra, and he also wrote for, and this is real, I swear to God, the California Raisins. Okay, that takes me back. Holy crap. One of the show's executive producers was Christopher J. Bro. Bro was a producer on Reboot and was the executive in charge of the production on Super Mario Bros. Super Show, which likely explains the Bob Forward connection. It's who you know, always.
It's true, Optimus.
Beast Wars had a pretty large pool of directors, 24 according to IMDb. Colin Davies, who directed 5 episodes, didn't have a long career as a director, but he's had a big career as a VFX supervisor. Credits include John Wick, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and most of Season 3 of Game of Thrones. Directors on Beast Wars going on to be big-time VFX supervisors and animators is kind of a theme, probably because they were there on the ground floor of CG animated entertainment. Directors like Ezekiel Norton, Andrew Dowsett, and C. Michael Easton all went on to do visual work on big-time movies like Percy Jackson the Lightning Thief, Avatar, Star Wars prequels. I mean, that's good stuff, fellas. Almost half of the Beast Wars directors also directed episodes of Reboot, which makes sense because most of the people hiring for Beast Wars worked on Reboot too, so why wouldn't they want to hire people with experience directing for their only other computer animated show? Again, it's who you know. The writing staff had 22 writers. All but 5 of the credited writers only wrote 1 each. Greg Johnson, who wrote 4 episodes, would go on to be the head writer on X-Men Evolution. Len Wein, an iconic comic book writer who co-created Wolverine, created Swamp Thing, and edited Watchmen, wrote 1 episode. Fellow comics icon Marv Wolfman also wrote 1 episode. He created Blade, Black Cat, Dick Grayson's Nightwing, the New Teen Titans, and many more. TV writing legend DC Fontana wrote one episode. She was a writer on the original Star Trek and also wrote for The $6 Million Man and Star Trek TNG. She continued working on shows into her 70s and was a trailblazing woman in genre TV writing. And while the rest of the writing staff may not be standout names, their work covered a ton of ground like Batman the Animated Series, Superman, Berenstain Bears, Digimon, DuckTales, woo, the original TMNT, Babylon 5, and even Baywatch. Beast Wars has one of the smallest casts of any cartoon we've ever seen. There are only 19 credited actors on IMDb. And again, this has to do with the fact that it just wasn't technologically feasible or cost effective yet to have lots of characters on screen together. Also, certain actors voice multiple characters, which isn't uncommon in cartoons. In fact, happens quite a lot.
Optimus Primal, maximize.
Gary Chalk voiced Optimus Primal.
The gorilla guy is more organic, a bit more warmer, a bit more human. Shut up, Rat Trap. Don't bug me now. It's like, almost like a dad to these kids. Whereas Prime is more militaristic than family.
The time for speeches is over, Galvatron.
He's played Optimus Prime in various iterations of Transformers, and he was also Colonel Chekhov on Stargate SG-1.
And the continued support of Russia.
It's much appreciated, sir.
David Kaye voiced Megatron.
Did you ever wonder why I stole the golden disc in the first place?
You may remember him as Professor Xavier on our recent video on X-Men Evolution.
Steel is forged through fire, and like it, we have been made stronger.
And he can also be heard as the voice of Clank in the Ratchet & Clank video games, which are super dope.
An infobot. Ratchet, we could use that.
Ian James Corlett voiced Cheetor.
I'm not just some dippy cub, you know.
He was Mega Man on Mega Man the series.
I like it!
And Goku in the Saban dub of Dragon Ball Z.
You're right!
Scott McNeil pulled double duty on the important characters front, voicing both Rat Trap and Dinobot.
My name is Dinobot.
He also chipped in with the less important characters as Waspinator.
So I did a character that was I went to prison.
McNeil's resume is among the most stacked we've ever seen. He's Piccolo.
Oh yeah, I feel much lighter now.
Wolverine.
Bring it on, Pops.
Proto Man, the list goes on and on. Dude is vet.
Let's see how fancy your powers are against me, mega jerk!
Live action and voice acting vet Venus Terzo voiced Black Arachnia.
Black Arachnia, terrorize!
She was Jean Grey in X-Men Evolution.
Oh, sorry, Storm.
And plays Dr. Schwartz on Arrow. It's worth mentioning that all the folks we just talked about also provided voices on Reboot, further extending the synergy between these two shows.
What a fortunate return of events.
Also, the whole cast deserves props for the distinct and often intense registers these characters are voiced in. It's not always so easy to give a rampaging beast robot a believable voice, but this cast killed it. With Beast Wars, the Transformers brand decided to experiment with striking a more mature tone, and as a result, no toys were produced for it. No, I'm just playing. With Transformers, transforming toys are at least half the fun, and rest assured, Beast Wars was no exception. Hasbro produced a ton related to the show. The toys were divided into groups based on their complexity and importance of the character in the show. So you had your more minor characters in basic class, which for some reason included Rat Trap, and things went all the way up to Ultra Class, where the Megatron and Optimus Primal toys hung out. Cool kids, always stick together. Also, I still have some of mine. The toys feature projectiles that fire from different configurations, so you had to watch your eyes. And the toys also introduced ball and socket joints so that limbs could pop on and off without damaging the toy. So Beast Wars was pretty technologically innovative on and off screen. I broke so many toys. There was also a line of toys from McDonald's Happy Meals, and before you ask, yes, the commercial survives. Now, granted, the quality of the footage is serious potato vision, so...
What's changing at McDonald's? Mega Tough Beast Wars Transmetals. You get one Transformers toy with each Beast Wars My Little Pony Happy Meal you buy.
2 Beast Wars video games were produced, one titled Beast Wars Transformers, which was for the PC and PlayStation and based on the first season, and the second titled Beast Wars Transmetals for the PlayStation and N64 based on the second season. IDW also produced a Beast Wars comic series. There were 12 issues total released from 2006 to 2008. Comprised of 2 miniseries of 4 issues each plus 4 additional special issues. Beast Wars characters also appeared in comics by 3H Bakkan and Dreamwave. There were also 2 anime Beast Wars shows released only in Japan. Beast Wars 2, Super Lifeforms Transformers, and Super Lifeform Transformers Beast Wars Neo. But the biggest legacy of Beast Wars show-wise is Beast Machines, a 1999 sequel that ran for 26 episodes and that continued the adventures of the characters. With any discussion of Transformers property, the elephant or beast in the room is always the shadow that the Michael Bay Transformers flicks cast over our memories of Transformers past. Although Beast Wars can be somewhat brutal for a kid's show, it definitely looks extremely mild compared to the films, where whole cities get completely trashed in extremely realistic detail. Yeah, I'm sure no innocent people died in that whole... I guess bayhem movies are just a product for a new generation that is maybe more into the utter chaos and non-stop destruction that some older heads think is in a different spirit than the past versions of Transformers. Although I will say, I enjoyed the first 2 flicks and Bumblebee quite a bit. I'm so screwed. At least between those movies, Beast Wars, G1 Transformers, and the kids Transformers shows that exist today, there's something for everyone. What do you think? Do you like what Transformers is as a franchise today? Is Beast Wars a treasure change-up of the classic formula, or are you a vehicles or bus type of person? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. For new episodes that drop every other week, make sure you subscribe over here. And for more EYDK like past episodes, make sure you click over there. This general area right here. Maximize!